Okay, the weather prediction was half right. It is snowing, but it's also raining. Doesn't look like it's gonna stick overall unless it gets a lot colder. Alright, and what did I read today? Some crazy stuff. According to this, apparently there was a drone that actually crashed through a helicopter and went right through the window. That's what it says anyways. This one here says, the Navy helicopter pilot ended up with injuries to his face when this afternoon at Punta de Tralca, a Mavic 2 Pro model drone collided with the aircraft, breaking the windshield, endangering the team that was carrying out work patrolling the coastline. The pilot had to be treated at the CES FAM at Santo Domingo. Later, he was transferred to the Naval Hospital of Vina del Mar, being in good condition. They show photos and stuff like that of the aftermath. Looks kind of gruesome with a broken window and everything, and they do show the drone on the ground. I guess for added effect, there's the bloody, mask. Although I guess one kind of interesting thing is it mentions in the story it's a Mavic 2 Pro, but just looking at the design, I believe it's the 2 Air by the looks of it anyways, because you can tell by the camera, the color of it and all. So will this be a big blow to people who use drones? Will this be used as an example saying this is dangerous as an example? That's why you need to regulate these things like crazy. That's kind of the interesting thing because there isn't any more details at the moment, but it seems like just based on things like the reactions online, some people are trying to claim it doesn't add up because they're saying with the damage based on the photo, it seems like the front of the drone is almost completely okay in terms of the top. And you would imagine, I guess, if it did crash through the window, the top should be completely destroyed, right? But it does show that, I believe, according to the picture, the camera completely came off and the arms are broken, at least on the front. So first we have that situation in the US recently where the person actually was criminally convicted. So now this, I guess, assuming everything is accurate from what they show here, I think the only other one I can think on top of my head where it ended up being fake was it was somewhere there was a helicopter pilot or something like that. He was flying and then he crashed. A lot of the pictures and stuff the media were showing, it was so gruesome, he had blood and all that, and he blamed it on a drone. And that's what people ran with, but apparently afterwards when they investigated it, there ended up being no drone at all, so he just made it up for whatever reason, I guess, just to hide his own errors, his own doings. Although this one here, they actually show you a drone and stuff like that. What would people think about this? Instant death blow, so to speak? Or would this be one of those need to understand more what happened and what's the context around it? And the other thing I read was kind of fascinating. It basically dealt with the local theater here. And during these times with these shutdowns, they're saying only essential businesses can stay open. For example, supermarkets or even places like restaurants because they serve food. Whereas some places like this theater called RIO Theatre, they've been forced to shut down because I guess it's not determined as essential. And they've been trying to argue they're just as safe as, say, a restaurant to open. But with no luck, they're basically still shut down. So they kept changing their signs, I guess, on the front at first. It's just, why can't they open as well? And eventually they just said, forget it. And they have things like a liquor license, I guess, to serve things like alcohol. So they recently changed their sign to say, screw the arts, we're a sports bar now, opening Saturday, January 23rd. And apparently with what they did, it was a huge success because there was things like the UFC fight and all that. So they made like a lot of money, I guess you could say, just trying to stay in business with all the pandemic. That's kind of creative, I guess, technically, which is, makes you think too whether or not it makes sense to shut everything down in that way. But then this piece here is kind of interesting. It says, RIO Theatre's $375,000 arts grant may be in jeopardy after sports bar stunt. The primary condition of the City of Vancouver's 2018 grant was that they remain a cinema and live entertainment venue. I know in the past this theater was actually going under in terms of finance, so people actually tried to donate money and stuff like that, and I guess this grant was one of the things that helped them. It says, back in 2018, in order to help save the RIO, Vancouver City Council made a rare move and approved a $375,000 conditional grant to help purchase the building and save the privately held theater business that runs out of it. It was part of their Make Space for Art 2018 Cultural Infrastructure Plan, which was meant to help preserve existing private spaces such as music and film venues. And with that, they said the catch is the venue is to be used specifically as a cinema and live entertainment venue for at least 10 years after they receive the cash. So it'd be kind of interesting to see whether or not that affects this whole thing. And apparently the owner responded to the article. It says their CEO, Corinne Lay, writes, "All I have to say is that we are living in unprecedented times and the RIO is doing what we can to survive. I think your line of query into this level of detail is completely tone deaf and insensitive to the crisis of the art is facing." I would say it is kind of a creative way to try to stay in business. At the same time, would you support, I guess, a decision like that? Alright, doesn't look like there's any flying today. I guess it's time for the archive. Alright, see you guys later.